What's up, people, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Lost in Transit podcast. And this one is very different. And I say different because it is not for everybody. It is only for people who are looking to make money. People who are looking to be financially independent. Now, if you have all the money in the world, that's fine. You can stay on one side. But if you're looking to learn tips, tricks, insights, and gain knowledge on how to be financially independent and make the most of your finances, now that is where you should be. Here is where you should be, and this is what you should be watching. And that's because today on this episode, I've got someone who has got knowledge about everything finances. He works with one of the top four players in the financial services industry, and he's got years of experience helping people and organizations plan their finances so they can make the most out of it. On this episode, he will be sharing with us all there is to know about how to make the best of your financial situation. On to this episode, I have with me Dayo. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure.
I like the way you are calm. I think that's typical of people that are very rich.
Yeah.
Or people are on the way to be rich. People that are quarter to be rich. And that's what I hope that we're going to be today after this episode.
Yeah.
Well, I like your jacket. I like your shirt.
So much.
Nice.
Thank
I like the blue thing. Is it a blue day?
Yeah, well,
We're almost dressed alike. Oh my God.
To be honest, that's
it. It was a coincidence. I didn't pick my shirt because I saw your own. No, I promise you.
Oh, okay. No problem.
But I think blue is the color of the rich people, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
We can agree.
Yes, we can.
Right,
agree on that
right.
Because we are both rich.
But amen. I mean, you are very rich. I am on the way. So when you teach me the thing that you want to teach me today, I will be very rich.
All right, no problem.
Great. And of course, you will be very rich as well if you're watching. So we're going to be sharing tips and everything that you need to know. But before we go into that, tell me about yourself shortly.
Shortly, my name is Dayo. I currently work in the financial service with one of the big four. Before that, I was in the banking and finance space before I was hired to be on contract for them, supporting financial situations. And by privilege of my work and also by my expertise, I've been moved to different special projects. I have supported over 15,000 financial situations in UK, US, Canada, and just some few people around the different parts of the world. Just because they are in financial situations, then we kind of draw a plan for them on how they can come out of the financial situation. So when you brought the invite, I was happy because I have passion for helping people to know how they can avoid being in financial situation, because there's just a bit of thin line between being an average person or average income earner to going into financial situation. So if one is not careful, one can slip into it easily.
And of course, if one is not careful, like you said, because this lack of carefulness comes in different ways. You know, 100%. Honoring the invitation that you shouldn't go to, buying what you don't need, 100%. Taking loan that you don't need, 100%. Not paying your monthly whatever on your credit card. You know, so many things that, of course, and you being an expert in that field, I would like for you to please don't spare anything. Tell us how it is, especially in this UK. So our eyes will be clear. We know what to do and what not to do.
No
right?
problem.
Great. But then before we get into that,
Yeah.
how was it for you, your journey moving into the UK? Tell me about your time in Nigeria. Tell me fond memories of growing up in Nigeria, living in Nigeria, and why you decided to jackpot.
Well, living in Nigeria, I would say that we were able to afford normal living costs. I were able to afford that then, myself and my wife, and we had my boy then. But there was just a bit of some financial situations in that period. But still, we were not so bad. We're not so bad. But then also my wife wanted to study abroad because she's in the health space.
All right.
So she wanted to study abroad because a friend was in US. Two of our friends were in US, so she felt, which other country can I go to? Let me just go to the UK.
Nice.
And we found ourselves in the UK.
Great.
So, but memories of Nigeria. I had a friend that went to Nigeria for a week. He just came to my house because we needed to stay and all. So In fact, I was just like, if I have my way, I would just go and sell it to my people in Nigeria and
Yeah.
come back.
I can imagine.
The fun in Nigeria, you just look at it. When you get to the street, everybody is together. Unlike here, that the last time I saw my neighbor was about 3 months ago.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Your neighbor?
I'm telling you. The only way you know that they are in is when you see the car and when the car is out. And like Nigeria, that
it's very
far from the streets.
Yeah, they hail you. I know. Do you miss Nigeria?
Yes, I do miss
Look
Nigeria.
at you.
I do miss Nigeria. But I hope that maybe I can have so much to be able to spend so much holidays in Nigeria. More than
Great, interesting. So you can spend all day on the yacht, in the water behind the koi and all of that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Interesting. So when you moved to the UK, what was it like for you? The change in situations, the change in environment, change in reality. How was the journey to adaptation? What was it like for you? Run me through the process, please.
Well, to be honest, it was kind of strange. It was kind of strange, especially when I got to the airport, Heathrow Airport. I was, I was almost stranded because it occurred to me that my MTN was not working. So I needed to figure out how I was going to find my way. Then also, because my wife was already in the country, but she was at work that day, she could not find a way to get to
you.
To pick me. So she told me how to go about it, get the bus. I was just like, why is it this difficult to get a bus? Normally, just go out of Ikeja.
Buses are waiting for you.
Buses are waiting. You get.
You wait for buses.
You wait for the bus, and you don't even know the stand you want to wait.
I know.
So it was really strange, and I just had to catch up. And cope with it.
Right. But how are you finding it now? How long have you been in the UK now?
About 3 years now.
Oh, interesting. About
3 years now. So, well, good. I'm getting used to it. And all of that.
Did you stay in London for a bit before moving to Newcastle?
No. I've always been in
Newcastle, in the north. Oh, nice.
Because, to be honest, I didn't want to go to... I don't think I want to stay in London because it's kind of course, I can extend or probably invest in London or anything around it, but I don't think I want to live in London because I was living in the busy place in Nigeria.
Right.
In Lagos.
Now you want some calm.
I just want some calm. So,
I can imagine. Whereabouts in Lagos did you live?
I was living at Maryland side.
Oh, really? Yeah. I did around, but you can give me a shout out. Wait, Maryland, that's this side or that side?
If you know Maryland, that means you know Pangrove.
Oh, I do know Pangrove.
Yes, I was in
right in the middle. Oh, great stuff. Good stuff. Right, okay, so you've been in the UK for about 3 years now. You've been working with one of the top 4 in the financial services industry. And then you, by virtue of what you do, have been exposed to a lot of information about how things work with respect to people and finance, companies and finance,
100%.
and situations as well. And I imagine, of course, that you have an understanding of policies and how they play and how they affect the situations that people find themselves in and companies find themselves in. From all of that information, if there was one big or one key thing that you think people should be wary of, what would it be? Especially migrants, with respect to their finances and all of that. If there's going to be one idea, if we're going to sum everything up into one instruction or one recommendation, what would it be?
I would say manage your income and expenditure. That alone is what I can speak on for hours. Because for immigrants, majorly, we don't really have the habit. Some people say they want to get rich, but if I ask you this question, how do you want to get rich? They don't know. And abroad, United Kingdom, US, or Canada, or any other country, is not where you wake up and get rich tomorrow. Unlike Nigeria, that you posted something on TikTok, you slept, before you woke up, it went viral. And people are calling you, you're viral now. I want to give you 10 million naira. And before you know it, in less than a week, someone gave you Benz, someone gave you this, someone gave you a house, and you woke, you became. But in the UK, it might not really happen. If you're lucky, fine, but it might not really happen. US, maybe it might I'm not sure if it will happen too. But we just need to understand that we need to manage our income and our expenses. I prepared about 4 things I'm going to go through that could help people to be a better person,
Right.
and also ensure that they don't go into financial situations.
Right.
So, for example, the very first thing is to keep tracking your finances, which is what I said would be the first lesson.
Right.
A lot of people, they say, okay, I want to, in the next 3 months, maybe I should be able to have this. But if I ask you now, do you know how much you spent last month? Can you tell me? If I ask you that, do you know how much you spent last year? Can you tell me? So if you don't know how much you spent last month, how do you want to know how much you're going to save next month? So it starts with keeping a track of your expenses. Of course, you can know how much you earn. Sometimes you might vary because probably you pick up over time, or you had some extra perks that came in or thereabout. But the very first thing you need to do is to keep a track of it. Okay, how much is going to this? How much is going to my priority bills, my rent, my mortgage, or some other things like that? Ideally, that should not exceed between 50 to 60% of your income. Then that means if you are exceeding that, that means you're doing some things wrong. Probably you're living in a house you should not be living in. You're driving a car you should not be driving.
You're touching soft spots.
So,
Yeah.
sorry,
Okay.
no offense.
By all means, please share. By all means, but
disrespect.
listening. But listening.
So if you're exceeding about 50 to 60% of your income on your priority bills, then that means that you need to check some things.
Right.
And that is what people tend to do when they are already in financial difficulty, which is late already.
Right.
Because probably you can't afford to continue paying for the car you financed, or you can't continue paying for your mortgage, which already is kind of late. So if you find yourself in that situation, you might want to look at downsizing or some other things, going to probably a neighborhood that's more affordable for you, or probably your car reducing it to a smaller one. Unlike Nigeria, or for immigrants, or anyway, the Africa, the kind of car matters, you drive matters. Here, it doesn't matter.
No, that's all.
Nobody will follow you to your car park at work to know what you packed.
Yeah.
If you like pack a 2010, if you like pack a 2025, it's your business. The same paycheck for everyone.
Absolutely.
So we need to keep a track of that. Secondly, we want to look at probably saving and also repaying debt. Some people, they look at, like most people in Africa, and even according to statistics, I think about 34% only in the UK, not only immigrant now, have up to £1,000 saved in their account.
Hey, Jesus. Hey, Jehovah. Hey, you're serious.
So it's not necessarily because the system is that way, but because people are not managing their finances. Like what we shared earlier, some people are living more than what they are spending, more than what they should be spending. So as we said, that 60% should go towards your priority bills. Then what do you want to do with the remaining 40%? Probably you allocate that for probably fun, holidays, you're saving for, you want to travel around the world, not more than 10 to 20%. Then the remaining 20% you're investing in. So we'll go to that. So the second thing would be about saving and repaying. Some of us are using debt that are interested that we should not be. Everybody, if you check some people now, almost everybody has a credit card. Credit card, you're paying interest rate about 22%, some other things like that. All those things are high interest rate. You should, and that is why before you take a product, you should look at the interest rates.
Right.
Because they are there to do business. But you are thinking, oh, when I have this credit card, I have this. I have access to a lot of credit. Not knowing that you are going to pay it back with interest. So when you're looking at it at the end of the month, you spend so much money because you think you can buy clothes, you can buy this, you can buy PS,
travel,
you can do this, not knowing that money you're going to pay it and you're paying it with interest. So I'm sorry to say we have some people that have been stuck in probably paying a particular credit card or a particular overdraft for over 3 years.
Or more.
You just keep paying it. Because you use it, you pay it, you use it. That's a cycle. That's the kind of cycle people are locked in. If you are not wise enough, you may fall into that kind of situation. And you see that, oh, there's nothing there. And that is why they say so many people spend 25 years abroad and they have nothing to show for it. What were they doing? What kind of decisions were they making with their finances? They were working. So if they were working, that means the money was going somewhere. So,
More.
so repaying interest flow, if you are already in that situation, what you should be looking at is paying those debts with high interest rates. Some credit card that you think, oh, what is going to this? Let me pay it off. So it's even sick for people to have savings in one account and you have credit card that you are paying interest on. Imagine your savings, you're getting 5%, and your credit card, you're paying 22%. So the savings that you saved 5K in the account, and on the credit card, you're paying 22%. It doesn't match.
Go match. So,
but people don't say it until when the financial experts that I'm privileged or, I work in that space, look at it and say, oh, I would for example, I don't give, and even on this podcast, I'm not giving financial advice.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So that's just a disclaimer. Yeah. So you might want to look at it and say, oh, instead of putting these savings here, getting 5%, why don't I pay my credit card? And I am not paying 22%.
Yes.
Because if you look at it by the end of the year, you have paid more interest than
the
what you
savings
got
kept
from savings.
Yeah.
So why not pay that off? Then when you need it, you can run to it and use the debt. But debts are not supposed to be used for long. They're just for rainy days. But people live in it. People dwell in it.
Yeah, I think that, you've touched on a very, very, very important topic, and that's of credit cards and debts as well. Africans, and I don't have statistics to back this up, but I know that it's not something that a lot of us were exposed to back in Nigeria. For one, I did work briefly in the banking sector, so I had an idea what it is. But I figure that a lot of us are not exposed to it. So when we move here, we think it's free money. We take it, this, that, without thinking. I remember there was one that I got, and I don't know why I even got it. My friend told me about the perks, the lounge and everything. So I got it, and I just checked my account one day. Once you're welcome. I'm like, after I started using the card, he started billing me. I just called them. They said, even if they're going to stop it, they're going to surcharge me. I said, okay, surcharge me now. Stop it and surcharge me and just end it. Because this is very expensive. I can't afford it. And like you said, yes, indeed, it's a new thing to us. And we think it's free, but it's absolutely not free. We're paying for it, and it keeps you in that cycle for long. You keep using your salary to pay back the debt, and of course, because you don't understand why you should go to it, you go to it for every something that you want to buy. You go to your credit card, and eventually it keeps you in that hole. And you've touched on a very, very, very important topic. What do you think we need to know as migrants about this devil called credit card? I'm serious, because it's pretty much the reason a lot of us are, broke, because we end up every month paying the interest and what we've used, and then we run back to it and we keep doing it over and again. What do we need to know about this devil called credit card? I'm serious. It keeps taking from us.
Well, I would say that people make it the devil.
Oh well, okay. Maybe it's not the devil. Maybe that's harsh. Sorry, credit card.
People make credit card the devil because, like I said, it's not to live in. It's just for rainy days. It's for days in which you can afford something and you use it and you pay back. So in the long run, they can tell you to pay back minimum payments while you are probably raising your money to pay what you owe or what you used. So that's why there's a minimum payment, and that is why they allow overpayment. So if you have your money now, you can pay it off. But people, if you say, oh, since they gave me the debt, let me leave the debt there and let me go and use the money I have to fund fund my holiday, fund a car finance or some other things like that. So it's about having the proper financial knowledge. There are a lot of things you can read online that helps you with financial knowledge and some other things like that. But it's necessary for people to just be mindful. I can tell you for a fact that if you have 100 people, 100 Africans or thereabout, not up to 20% would say they work out a budget. For myself and my family, I think we know what we might be able to afford in the next 2 months. So we know what is coming. So if you call me that there's one Ashwebi somewhere, even or anything in London or something, I can tell you if I can afford it or not. Because I know what is going to happen in the next 2 months by our basic earnings. So if there's any other thing that can go to maybe some savings and some investment. But it's about budgeting, tracking, ensuring that you're paying your high interest debt, then saving, managing, investing. So that way, people can be free from the whole issue.
Wow. Budgeting, tracking, saving, investing, and sorting out your high interest debts. It sounds very easy the way you have said it. But the practicality of it, and speaking as a migrant, where back in our home country, we're very communal, right? You're broke. Sorry, I'm in 5K. Sorry, I'm in 10K. You may not pay back, but at least you have people to support you. That is not a thing here.
And that is the bad habit. Because, like you said, that we're communal, it's you don't have the habit of paying back. You know, some of us, we know our friends that don't pay back.
We do.
But
Let's not mention their names here.
Don't let us mention. So if that kind of friend gets to the UK, he uses the debt. There's £2,000 I collect. There's another provider is providing a debt. I collect 3,000. This one you will pay back.
I swear you will pay back.
Because at the point of you taking it, they've already asked you how you are going to be paying back. But the sad thing is that you are paying back with interest. But because you've had the bad financial ethics, you did not pay attention to it.
Right.
And to be honest, they are transparent enough. It's in their terms.
Right.
But some of us, how many of us
read terms and conditions?
We just click. No, but how many of us look at the interest rates, the APR or something? We just click. Oh, they are giving it pamper. I get the card.
Right.
And let me go and spend.
Okay, so thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
APR, something annual, something.
Can get the formula for
Right. So those things are not things that we particularly look out for. We don't understand the implication of it. We don't really pay attention as much as possible, but particularly about the fact this is money. So I'd ask you now, from a professional point of view, what are the things we need to be looking out for when we are making certain financial decisions, like taking a credit card, for example? Let's start with a credit card. What are the things we need to be looking out for when we're taking a credit card?
I would say for credit card, I would want us to understand that the providers are there to do business. It's not free money. So like the APR, which is the annual percentage rate, that is the cost of borrowing money for a year. So if I'm borrowing this money from you, if I'm borrowing £1,000 from you, how much will it cost me to borrow it from you? Some of them may say, for example, some of them say 13%, some of them say 22%. So who should I be going to? I should go to 13% because I know that this one is lower.
Yeah.
But how many of us look at that? We just look at it that, some of the providers even say for the first 3 months, no interest. You are blinded with that, and you didn't look at what is going to happen after. So about the product, we need to check, what am I paying? What is the cost of using this debt before you take the product?
So it's not free money, it's debt.
It's
literally.
It's debt. Yes, it's debt.
Right. Okay. So there's this popular notion or topic. They say, "Oh, UK Longbe." That is loosely translated as the money you make in the UK, it stays in the UK. Essentially, what it means is it's so hard to be financially independent. It's so hard to build wealth, especially as a migrant. To what extent do you think this is true?
It's not true.
So it's a foul.
It's foul.
Okay. Why do you think that?
It's not true, because I've seen people that are immigrants and they are doing well for themselves. I have a friend that has over 30 properties.
30 properties?
Yes, investment properties. And it goes to the fact that it starts from that place of tracking, ensuring that you are free from debt, free from something that is holding you down.
Right.
So that means you're working, but the money is going somewhere. So you need to know where the money is going. Once you stop those debts, then you can now look at how you can be going to multiply the money. So there's difference between savings and investment. We know that. Basics, economics, or I think they taught that in secondary school or thereabouts. So we know the difference between savings. Savings, you can say, okay, every month, every year, I'm getting 5%. But for investments, savings can even tend to grow faster than investments, maybe for the first 1 year or two. But investment will begin to compound, and begin to go higher. So, for example, in the United Kingdom, wealth is said to be provided or dwelling majorly on properties and private pensions. So what is private pensions? Is you contributing money to an account provided by an organization. And what do? They use this money to invest. They invest in stock, shares, and some other assets. So with over the years, it begins to compound. Then at a certain age, you can
Access it.
So it compounds. It gives you more money than savings. So that is having a particular knowledge. Another thing people can do is to probably invest, for example, property investment.
Properties.
Yes, which I have a lot of friends that are into that. So it might want to cost you a bit for you to get the right knowledge, for you to know the strategy that can work with you and also work with the kind of job you do. Some people are into service accommodations, the popular one, Airbnb, Booking.com. So some people can use their house, probably they're staying in a 3-bed. They can use, maybe rent about, even if it's a family, they can rent maybe a one of the rooms out. Of course, it's legal. Just check the necessary guidelines for your area, for your area, and your council and all of these things. So once you check that and you see that, okay, this is what can work for you. Once you're doing that, probably the rent that comes from either Airbnb or you rent it to an individual that is living with you, you just call yourself as a stay-in landlord. And you rent out a room. You can do that on spare room. You can do that and list one room out. So if you're getting income from that, probably your rent is, say, 1,000 too, and the person is paying you 400. That is £400 saved. So £400 saved, and I know if you are a smart Niger guy or Niger girl, you look at it that this is 400 pounds that is coming. How can I multiply this? Say I multiply it over 5 properties, and I get 5 properties I can rent out. Of course, you're not renting only one. You're renting about 4 out per property. You pay the landlord his own money. The remaining comes to you. You pay energy bill, you pay some other things. The remaining comes to you. If you do that and multiply that over 4 properties, you should be looking at having about 4K per month. And you've replaced your income or, had extra income from that.
Smart thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, that's some brilliant recommendation you've made. People need to look into that. But then, does that not require a lot of, say, learning? I mean, everywhere on Instagram, I see people say, I've got this apartment, I've got these properties. You hear them say, well, properties. I've got 7 properties. But I mean, you can't just start with any property. So how do you grow on the ladder? How do you? If someone was to consider that, for example, property thing for investment, what? I mean, speaking from your friend's point of view, I mean, of course, you must have discussed with him to learn a couple of things of what he did. What are the ways one can get on the property, investments ladder, whatever they call it?
I would say the very first thing is knowledge. If you have the right knowledge, the quality knowledge on how you can make it happen, then that's the very first thing. You don't even need money, I would say. You can always work with other people's money. People that say, oh, I have 3K that
I'm not using.
I say, oh, okay, can you give me just 3K? Let me go and do this thing. And, I'll give you back. People, to be honest, people find it easy to part away with their money when they are sure
You return it.
you return it. And probably you would do something good with it and add maybe a bit on it. So that is it. So I would say the very first thing is getting the right knowledge, because like I said, there are different property strategies and you need to know the one that will work with your lifestyle, how available you are. Do you want to be involved or you just don't want to be? Like if you're renting a part of your house, you know that you don't really have to be involved. The person can come in and go in at the time the person wants. The person can go to the kitchen themselves and, unlike when you're running Airbnb, for example, You have to send cleaners there to clean after the person goes out, and some other things like that. For example, if you are running HMO, that is house of multiple is it occupancy? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So if you are running that, you need to know that you have people that are not related. You have to speak to the council, ensure that the place is good for them to stay in,
Right.
and works with the regulation of the councils and some other things like that. So it's about, like I said again, it's primarily the knowledge and the willingness
To do it.
So not just everybody thinks that we as immigrants don't say that, oh, I've seen where I have good light, I have good car, I have good house, and that is it. How well are we preparing for the future? Some of us don't think of it that if we lose our job today, what's going to happen in the next 6 months if we don't find another one? We are not prepared for that. Our children are growing. There will be some time, maybe when they're about to start their own life, they will need our support. How well are we prepared for that? Are we invested for that? So it's not that we are just eating the money and, not thinking about the future.
Wow. Okay. This is a lot of thinking. Right. Okay, so tell me, we spoke earlier about, saving, budgeting, investments, and you mentioned one of the viable investments that anyone can look into. Of course, like you said earlier, disclaimer, we're not giving any financial advice here. It's just conversations that need to be further researched on, and you can make decisions by yourself later on. Aside property investments, are there others that make sense? That, say for example, one does not have the mental bandwidth to deal with properties and stuff. I'm just a chilled guy. I just want to make money for me, and I don't want to lift a finger. I don't even want to move an inch. What recommendations are there? That are okay to consider.
Yes, I would say that there are other things, there are other vehicles that can probably serve as investment or yield more interest. If you speak to your bankers, or go to their website, you see a lot of options. Some of them are ISA, all these things. They are products that you can invest in, and they would give you returns or probably give you some interest. There are also some investment company as well.
Okay.
Because of course, let them come and sponsor you. I won't mention their name. So there are also some investment company as well that you can put some money in, and they invest in, say, stocks, shares, and they give you your own part of your own profit, your own, addition.
Your portion, your profit, rather. Okay. As of course, we usually have a regular feature here, which is having one of our listeners write in their letters, and I've got one here, and it's about a young man. He's pretty much drowning in financial worries, and it says, "Dear Lost in Transit team, excuse me. Right now, my finances are a mess. I'm drowning in credit card debt." Credit card, Shani. Credit card, I'm drowning in credit card debt. Bills pile up faster than I can pay them, and savings or investments feel like distant fantasies. Sometimes I fear that at this rate, I might never amount to much or more. I keep asking myself, how did it get this bad? More importantly, how do I get out of this? Has anyone ever been in this situation and found their way out? I would love to know if there's still hope.
Of course, there is hope. There is hope, but it takes intentionality to come out of it. Like we said, the individual wants you to know that you are not alone, and there are other financial people that would support you, probably with the provider that you have, those providers that you have debts with, or some other things like that. But the very first thing is to be intentional about you wanting to come out of it. Then also, so far there is income, you might want to speak to them for financial support. The providers for financial support. But some of this might have credit file impact. But if you don't want that, you can sort it yourself. So you might want to look at paying off your high interest debt. After you do that, then also reducing expenses. Reducing expenses, draw a budget. Be intentional about it. Draw a budget. What goes to this? What goes to that? If we ask a normal person on the road, say, how much goes to your bills? The person will just say, maybe
Roughly about.
roughly about 200, but not knowing that there are some small direct debits that are going to some places that you don't even use those things. So all those things is still from your income.
True.
So it's still from your income. So those are just minor things that go out. Some of us, sometimes we are just a bit careless about something. Maybe some energy bills are high. We are not even conscious about it. We just leave. I went to one of my guys' house. Of course, it's well to do. I said, "How do you leave your bulb?" He said, "Just leave it there. That's how it's always on." I said,
I love it.
I said, "Okay, fine. I understand. You are well to
rich
do."
one.
Yeah, so no problem. But if you're trying to reduce costs, you should not leave it on if you're not using it. Don't leave. Why are you leaving it on from night till the next morning? But the heater, regulate it so that it can go off, not just put it on, just going on like that, some other things like that. So that's friend.
Even down to the time you spend in the bathroom with water and heat.
So all those things, just look at how you can reduce all of those expenses. It's just like, I believe that it will. This applies to the medical team. I believe that if they want to save a life, they have to stop the bleeding first. So all those places that your finances are leaking, you might want to stop it first. Anything that is not necessary, you might just want to. If you speak of these things, there are so many white people that you tell you that I can't afford this. You don't really hear that from Africa. You say, what is afford?
I'll see what I can do. That's what we say.
I'll see what I can do. Yeah. But if you speak to a white, you tell me I can't afford this. We know a lot of them go for holiday, but there are so many of them that are very good with their finances. I've spoken to a lot of them by the virtue of my work. They'll tell you, I can't afford this now, and I'm going to do this now so that I, let all of these things go. So that dear person that wrote the letter, please look at how you can pay your debt off, high interest debt, reduce unnecessary expenses, then begin to look towards savings and investment. Then you see that it might take a while. It's not a 1 year thing. You don't have to be intentional. Even in the United Kingdom, statistics has it that maybe for the age of people that are wealthy are between 55 years old to 64 years old. So you see that you have a long time to be intentional about your finances. And that is the problem with Africans. We don't have the long run game. It's just what we can spend now. And that is where the issue is.
Wow. Okay, this is very eye-opening. And I'm saying wow, not because I'm trying to be dramatic. I'm saying wow because I know that these aren't things that we know or we're used to. So if we're not extra careful, and because of the popular notion that we're trapped in that rat cycle, and we keep chasing the money, getting the money, spending it, not knowing how we're spending it, and returning back to the paycheck because, of course, we're not thinking that it was impossible in the first place to get out of the rat race. Yeah,
I do say this. The kind of people you relate with, although it sounds like a common quote, but it's very real. The kind of people you relate with, or when you came into the UK, the people you lived with for the first 3 months will determine your journey. If you believe and they tell you that UK is not good, that is your mentality, the mentality you carry. Until when you go and renew yourself, renew your mind
by association and exposure and reading and research.
Of course, you can't choose who you stay with when you come, but after the 3 months, you've seen how the bus system works, you've seen how the electricity works, you've seen how everything works. It's now necessary for you to, renew yourself and say, oh, I see. Sometimes my job does not require me to be on the road. I can work from home. But sometimes I just take a walk. I look at people, the Porsches and some other things. I go for jogging just because I just want to see people living better than I am living. So that's why I can know that it is possible.
Right.
It is possible to have this. I went to a property one day and, because we went for a trip.
Right.
And I saw the property. You need to see how gigantic this property is. In the UK. And the family that were living it, I don't think they're up to 4.
Wow.
They had this car, This small car, I don't know how to describe it. They just use it to, go around the property. Still in the UK.
What?
They have a football pitch in the property.
No, you're joking.
I'm not joking.
What?
I'm not joking. So these are properties that go for millions of pounds. So how did they get it? And that is why people should follow podcasts like this, so you can see that it is possible for you to see and grow beyond what you think.
Yeah.
There are a lot happening. The only thing is that it's not like Nigeria or like Africa where you see people living flamboyant life. You can see a multi-millionaire in the UK just wear a normal shirt. We know that you're a multi-millionaire.
Hey, God, I beg you. Amen, God, I beg you.
So you can see them wearing this normal kind of shirt and just normal jean, and you see them in cheap stores probably like Primark.
Yeah.
No
shades.
disrespect.
Yeah, of course.
But you just see them, they just walk around. So you need the knowledge, you need the exposure for you to know where the wealth is.
Right.
And go after it.
The knowledge and exposure is very key.
Yeah.
It's very key because I've heard people talk about many things and drawn inferences to justify why they think they cannot make it big. Things like, there's a reason the rooms are even small. It's so that, UK does not want you to be big. UK does not want you to be, you can never be in the UK. You can never be that in the UK because of the way they even say the weather is very grey and, boring because they said there's a, demon in the country.
Let me shock that person. I have a friend that, as at the point of building his house, he bought a new build. At the point, he designed the plan himself.
Wow.
So they said this is what is going to be on this. This is what we designed. But he rearranged everything. How big he wants the room to be.
That's some big balls.
No, it's not big balls. It's not far away, to be honest. It's not far away. It's not far away. So it's not. It's about the mentality. Know that there's abundance. There's abundance anywhere in the world. Even in Africa, there's abundance.
Right.
Just choose where you want to be and how you want to be, how you want to live. If you want to live with the small rooms, but if you want to aspire to live in the big rooms and make it happen, then you have to do it.
So let me ask you this, yeah? Because it's a popular notion. And, you find people say, I'm saving up. And you ask them to what end, they say, I want to buy a house to live in. And the reason is because they feel like, if I buy a house of my own, the 500, 1,000 I'm paying to the landlord every month, I can save that and contribute that towards my mortgage. So buying to own. What's your take on that one?
Well, to be honest, depending on how well the person knows what works for them, if they want to buy a house, good for them. But I know some people that the first house they bought was an investment property, not where they want to live in. And the investment property is now paying their rent and they have something extra. And don't forget that the property that they bought as investment property is still their own. So they're getting rent from that, paying where they live, and they're still going to get the property that's
eventually.
So it's about knowing what actually works for you. If you think, okay, I just want to get a place of my own, fine. The only thing I would say that if someone wants to get a place of their own or buy their first property to live in, will be if it's going to reduce your rent or in the long run, it works with your vision. So that's it. So anyone can make that decision. Like I said, all banks, their mortgage advisors that can advise, and also advisors at the bank that you can speak to.
Wow. Okay. I did a bit of research as to 7 habits that people can adopt to be financially independent, especially in the UK. 7 habits migrants can adopt. I'm going to read them out. Just, let me know what you take, how true or otherwise, and you can buttress it with more points. Number one, I think in fairness, you have spoken about most of them. I'm going to be very honest with you. And it just shows the fact that my research is correct or you are very good or two of us are in consensus, which is good.
You tell me about it before.
Right, I will. Number one is budgets religiously. Know where every pound goes. Track your income, your expense, set spending monthly limits as much as possible, and ensure that you have an idea, what you're buying, if it's within the range of what you can afford or not. Right. Okay. I see that you are nodding your head.
Yes,
you
I
are
agree
really in
with that
alliance
because
with that.
you have to budget, to be honest. Sometimes maybe a bottle of water here and another store might be cheaper here than another store. So if you don't know that if I can get it at a cheaper place, then my budget should be on that cheaper place. So I should always go to that cheaper place. Not that it's available in another store. Do you have it here as well with £1 extra? Okay, just give it to me. Sorry. Yeah, the big man.
Oh my God. Number 2 is to save first and spend later. That means set up automatic savings transfer as soon as you get paid, and then you can treat savings like a non-negotiable bill, essentially.
True. Yeah. Another way when people can do that is setting up a standing order. You can set up a standing order. You know the time of the month that you receive your salary or your payment. So probably you receive on the 28th. You want to set it up for maybe on the 30th of every month. That at the end of every month, this amount should go into my savings account. Yeah. So I would encourage that.
Okay. So number 3 is to invest early. To start small if you have to, ISAs, like I said earlier, ISAs, stocks, pensions, but let your money work beyond your salary. So invest as early as you can. Right?
Yes, I would agree with that in the sense that if you are, say you're 35 years old and you invest £500 every month, and in the next, let's say in a couple of years, you have much more, and that investment will have yielded much more. If you're going to invest that equivalence when you're 40, you need to be saving double for you to catch up with that. So that is why it's good to start early.
Right. Number 4 is to live below your means, and that's because I think this is like the biggest issue. Do you also think that it could also be black tax? What do you have to say about black tax? Because we can't but send money home. And when we send money home, it affects how much we do have left here. And if it affects how much we do have left here, we have to rely on credit cards. I mean, it's just like I'm trying to come up with excuses, but what do you think of black tax and how it affects us here in the UK and our ability to save and invest?
Well, I would say that regarding black tax or something around that, you should just send what you can afford. Yeah. Because why? If you don't make it, if you go back there in the next 20 years and they find out that you don't have a house to your name, they'll be the one people to first say, what have you been doing?
I agree.
Yeah, they'll be the first people to say, what have you been doing? So you don't even, some of them, if you go now, some of the people you think that you left behind, or some of the people that you think you are sending money to, you're supporting. If you see the kind of car they drive,
another angle,
you might not be able to drive those kind of cars.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying we should not support people, no, but let them know what you can afford, what you are able to give. So there is no pressure. Of course, for me, I'm a very good supporter of helping the parents and some other things like that. I think aside the parents, any other person is secondary.
I get you. Absolutely, and that's very correct because in fairness, it's not like you have it in abundance here. Of course, if you do have in abundance, by all means, please share if you feel like sharing. But if you're also, trying to put things together, you should also understand that you have to prioritize, who you reach out to with respect to what's living your resources as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and in line with that, I think was it not Tyler Perry that was sharing this, that if you have a boat, a small boat, and you're going to the other side to get a bigger boat, if you put too much load and responsibility on the small boat, you are going to drown.
And not get to the other side.
So why not tell everybody to chill, tell them to wait,
right?
Move some things forward for you to get your small boat to the other side. And when you get to the other side with the bigger boat, then you can bring some responsibility home.
Oh deep, oh deep, oh deep, oh deep, oh deep. So number five rather, is to prioritize debt repayment. Yeah, to tackle credit cards, to tackle loans and any debts aggressively.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely, because the interest rate is eating the future alive.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Wow.
it. So it's necessary to look into that.
Right. Okay. Another one here is to diversify income streams. You mentioned earlier about property, your friend doing the property investment, and the many other options that people can look into.
Yeah,
Great.
100%.
And finally, here to stay financially educated.
Yeah.
We said earlier about knowledge, about getting insights about the importance of it. So to read books, to listen to podcasts like this podcast, yay! To take short courses, to make money moves as quickly as possible, and to definitely just be guarded with respect to that. Okay, that's a very, very enriching and enlightening episode we've had, haven't we?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing so much of your knowledge and for building us up and telling us that it is possible to have the mentality of abundance. Oh my God. But on that note, I do hope that you have learned a thing or two with respect to how to take hold of your finances aggressively. Credit card is not free money. It is debt. So pay up. Don't let the interest eat your future away. And of course, diversify your income as much as possible. Look into things that you can do. And very importantly, have an abundance mindset. Understand that it is possible and it's your reality as well. If it's happening in your neighborhood, then it can definitely happen to you. You're deep. Right. Have you got a final word to people with respect to, summarizing this episode and the importance of it with respect to financial decisions?
Well, to be honest, that's it. Having the abundance mindset. That's it. Pretty much everything.
Great.
Then also the association. I found myself in an association that because of the good things they do, I didn't know how I started doing those good things.
Wow.
Because yes, that's the power of association. That's the power of association.
Right.
If you find yourself in the midst of property owners, before you know it, in one way or the other, you get to be a property owner.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it works like magic.
Right.
So if you find yourself in people that are always balling, using their Benz to oppress, before you know it, you can take debts to buy Benz.
Oh, well, so on that note, property owners, deal. I want to join you so I can have a property myself. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that you have. It's been a fantastic time talking with you and learning from you. And yes, indeed, you've learned it is very possible to live a life of financial independence. Even being a migrant in the UK, it is very possible. All you need to do is to be very deliberate about running the race towards financial independence. On that note, thank you so much for joining, for staying tuned and for watching. My name is Olamide, and until next time, bye.